Morning. I swear a lot.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Library of Ruina Book Club. It's been a while that I got sick, which is dumb. This might actually have been the one no, actually, I was coughing and sneezing way too much during that time. But I was going to say this might have been the one thing I could have done during that time, but no, the quality would have been significantly lowered, so there was no point. We're on to Urban Myth today, which is only 2 series of invitations, as I've checked. Here, if I can go all the way down, and yes, Urban Myth is here, and the streetlight, or there's the bistro, and then there's 2 streetlights, and then that's all of Urban Myth, so this might not take too long. But I'm still gonna try and do one tier per video, despite the fact that later on apparently some of these are gonna get very, very, very long, so might divide those into multiple parts, I don't know. But for now, it'll be 1 per video. That seems reasonable to me. So we'll start with Pierre's Bistro, not Pierre's. With the Backstreet's Butchers. Ah, Gabura's from District 23, isn't she? District 23 is the street of flavor. Everything is permitted in the pursuit of making delicious dishes. Even dismembering humans. Isn't that exciting? A guest walked into a restaurant for a meal, but then the chef fell in love with them. They had the perfect amount of tenderness and girth. The chef pulled out a knife, and the guest ended up on a plate. You'll become the food you appreciated one day, and others will appreciate what you've become. It's a common story often told in these streets. Well, if you really become the main character of one of those tales, be honored. That means the chef saw you as excellent meat, This is one of the best compliments you can hear in District 23. The more you know. Yeah, I can see why Geb didn't like the place. I didn't realize the butchers were from District 23. How does anyone live there? How does anything get done when people can just be abducted and cooked? Then again, I guess there's so many people that there's always plenty of ingredients, but how does anything get done anywhere? Butchering a human is a lot simpler than butchering other animals. Most of them are smaller than us, which means we can subdue them right away even if they try to resist. Oh, I'm not saying you necessarily have to be tall to be a butcher, so don't be discouraged. Anyway, humans can be a bit noisy, but they're very handy to deal with overall since there's very little to worry about compared to other meats. Besides, the 8 chefs, for them, human meat is the one and only ingredient that matches their pursuit. Some buzz about the process of cooking should be part of their flavor. You can't do that with any other meat, so you'd better watch it. If you dare wander this part of town, your destination might end up being a dining table. The fucking butchers just... I don't know, it's always rich people. It's always fucking rich people who are like, oh, I need the best dish possible, which is obviously Jimmy from down the street. And it's like, why can't you just have, like, I don't know. Have you ever had a chip butty? It's fucking incredible. I highly recommend it. Maybe that'll be more suitable for your palate, result in less people dying. Our usual source of cooking ingredients are syndicates, specializing in butchery. The kinds of meats they treat and how they process it differs for each syndicate, so you should pick your caterer carefully. Our Meat Pie Bistro used to frequently trade with the musicians of Bremen and Little Piggies. The musicians of Bremen provided large quantities of meat, though it wasn't all exactly the freshest. Shattered chips of bone were often in the meat, and the mixture of different types would create an odd flavor. Still, was a reliable supplier of ingredients, all in all. Outside of special occasions, we'd use them for making experimental dishes or sausages. Oh, speaking of, sausages are made from a mix of different kinds of meat. You could even find a rat inside at times. Anyway, we rarely sold the dishes made out of their meat other than the sausages. They'd never treat their meat nicely before handing it to us. The meat from Little Piggies is pricey and comes in small quantities, but its quality is good. We even got the highest grade meat sometimes if we were lucky. Just looking at the meat from Little Piggies fills me with ideas about how to cook it, and it makes my mouth water. That's how appealing the meat looks, but the price is rather heavy, so we only use it for important dishes or for foods we serve to customers. But both syndicates suddenly said they're no longer selling ingredients for some reason, so now Pierre and I have to pioneer a new supply chain on our own. I don't think this is all too bad though. I enjoy working with Pierre a lot. So I forgot that the musicians of Bremen sold meat to these guys. I guess they have to turn a living somehow, you know, being musicians doesn't always make a lot of money. But in case you were wondering, even by this point, whether or not the musicians of Bremen were a particularly pleasant bunch, now you know. They're not. They're awful. They're just simply awful. They're funny until they start getting sinister, but they're just awful in general. And the Little Piggies, I bet we're gonna encounter those guys at some point, for sure. There's no way we're not gonna, because the circus came up seemingly as like an offhanded comment, and then we met them, and that was a whole thing. So yeah, Little Piggies, I'm betting that's gonna go well. I wonder if Oink came from there. Maybe. Most cooks who live here have the same dream, becoming one of the 8 chefs. They're the people who pursue the ultimate delicacy. Their way of cooking will give you a thrill just hearing about it. You don't feel it? No, I'm sure you can feel it inside. I sound crazy? Nah, listen up, you stubborn square. This is why I can't talk to people whose brains are too old. They taste bad, too. There's a limit to the flavors people can draw forth. The height of taste the human tongue can feel isn't as impressive as you might think, really. The most delicious food doesn't come close to sending chills down your spine. At most, it's just good enough to make your eyes spin. And the food you guys casually eat going, tasty, are way below that. So many chefs gathered around one time, pondering what to do to pursue a taste beyond this limit. And then inspiration struck all of them at the same time like lightning. What if they sublimated the experience into taste, something beyond what the tongue can feel? You know, they say the presentation of food adds to its taste, right? What if the whole process of cooking could be tasted? They performed several experiments in an attempt to make that dream come true. So? What do you mean, so? I wouldn't be trying so hard if there was an end to delicacy. All the chefs are continuing their research to this day, seeking more stimulating flavors, and I just want to be as good as the stain on their apron, at least. It's hard to really find something to say about the PS Bistro, to be honest, because they were an afterthought, really. They were a notable afterthought, you know, like, fucking load up that reception and it's like, oh, by the way, these people are cooking people and eating them, it's pretty horrible, but they have no significance to the plot and don't go beyond their little bit of story. But the early parts of the game are very much like heroes of the day, as it were, who all have their own, ideas, ambitions, and such, then come to the library and get completely bodied by me and Roland. So, yeah, not a lot to say about them, but definitely, their appearance was definitely impactful. Pierre's voice acting, well, actually, Pierre and Jack's voice acting were both quite notable, and they were notable characters, it's just they didn't have a lot going on. I feel like they could have qualified for perhaps a bit more story, a bit more fleshing out, but it's difficult. This isn't really a game where you can have multiple characters that you flesh out, because when you get introduced to a character, they're usually about to die. The only exceptions have been like Philip, and members of the Blue Reverberation, and the Lure de Loup, and Oswald, who isn't confirmed whether or not he's part of the Reverberation at the moment, but I think he is, or at least he's connected. But the point is, fleshing out of characters doesn't happen very often. I thought Walter was going to be more of a big deal than he was, and he literally got bodied in the same day we met him, but that's something for later. But yeah, Pierre's Bistro. Don't eat there. We'll start with Lulu's friend. Wait, Lulu's friend page 1, Lulu's friend page 3. Am I missing a page? Hold up. Wait a moment. Wait a minute. Yeah, Lulu's friend page 1, Lulu's friend page 3. Maybe I miss a reception? It's possible. There's gotta be a Lulu's friend page 2, surely. Comments, let me know if there is. Because, I doubt it's anything amazing. I doubt even the passive attributions are anything notable, but I should probably look into it. That's really weird. Okay. A peacekeeping office provides protection for requested territories for a certain period of time. Lulu's is one of those offices. What are they protecting against, you ask? The city, obviously. What I'm saying is, their job is to keep the area safe from all sorts of happenings and incidents that occur in the city. Of course, there won't be much to do if the area is too small or peaceful. But man, compared to us who have to wait indefinitely for someone to make a request, Lulu's living a good life. At least she does something, and they don't have to worry about starving to death even if they don't get requests. So this, honestly, peacekeeping, the city's rough, no matter what you do. If you're a fixer, it's a rough place, you're always going to be in danger, there's the potential to die, and there's the potential to die painfully. But peacekeeping, honestly, seems like the best deal that you could get. Because typically, your very presence would deter, like rats, for instance, from operating in that area. If you're good enough, most syndicates would probably back off as well. Of course, it does mean that if, you know, a fixer office, like a less scrupulous fixer office, has a job in that area, you're kind of required to go up against them. And if you don't, well, you may as well kiss your peacekeeping business goodbye, because no one's going to hire you again if you ran away or lost, you know, or if you died, you're not going to get any more work. But it does still feel like the best possible job in terms of overall security and less man-made horrors from beyond my comprehension. As her friend, it's unfortunate that Lulu was struck with grief. I don't have any tears to shed for her, though. I've got my share of rough experiences. I'm just not sharing it with others. Well, I did say I'll help her out, but the truth is, my office figured that we could find plenty of valuable loot in the library, and that's pretty tempting. The other one is probably thinking the same thing as me. I mean, what dummy would actually head to such a dangerous place motivated purely by a friend's sob story? That kind of intimate and deep relationship is long gone from this world, especially in this business. That's why I can't understand Lulu. Sure, let's say that her colleague died there. Even then, she should be valuing her own life, shouldn't she? She can be so stupid at times. Well, I have to go in with her anyway. So it's interesting because Lulu talks a lot about her connections and her friends and stuff, but it doesn't seem like she really had proper connections or friends as much as there just happens to be like potential mutual benefits and gain to everyone. You know, everyone wants to go to the library because the books are potentially extremely valuable and the information involved is extremely valuable, but yeah, no, even in this case, when these people are literally described as Lulu's friend, they're not even that, really. They're just kind of associates, at best, pursuing common business. Which says a lot about the city in general. I'd like, in my fantasy fucking, fixer-oriented game where you make your own fixer office, I'd kind of like that to be a thing where you could potentially form a friendship with, like, other offices or fixers from other offices, but it's hard. Really hard to really cement the fact that this is not a thing that happens in the city and it's not what you're supposed to do, but it is technically possible. And then you have someone who will watch your back. But you could kind of spin it, because there'd surely be a reputation system of some kind in this fantasy game I'm making up. And if a friend of yours dies on a request, a mission with you, then your reputation takes a massive fucking hit because you become known as an office who will bring people in just to have them die. There's stuff you can do. I like the idea of it, but yeah, no, city's not a nice place. An associate's office is one that is in a cooperative relationship with one of the associations. The advantage of this designation is that its fixers will not have to worry about starving, since they're paid a stable salary, and that the office simply has to handle tasks given by the association with proficiency, rather than having to deal with clients and accept their requests as ordinary officers do. Spending days without any incident happening in the area designated for peacekeeping can be admittedly boring, though it's a blessing to have such a peaceful day in the city. I was grateful to have such serenity each day, reasoning with Lulu's occasional complaints. Is boredom the only downside of being an associate office? That's not quite true, because we're under the direct command of the association. We're forced to take on any undesirable tasks they give, even if it carries the risk of wiping out the office. I can't blame the association, so I only have myself to fault for failing to save my guys. So yeah, that does kind of lean into what I was saying about peacekeeping probably being the easiest job. And being an associate office seems to have ups and downs, as Sans says, where you know, it's guaranteed work, guaranteed salary, and you're not going to starve, but if there's a suicide mission, well, who's the association going to give that to first? Their own people? Nah. Your office would likely be sent in as like a scout. How bad is it? Oh, it's really bad. Okay, we'll send in the big guns. That associate office is dead. That's fine. We don't care. You know, like, very expendable and very disposable, which once again says a lot about how business is conducted in the city. It's rough. I like Sans. I think it's not Sans, it's San. I like Sans from Undertale. This is San. He's different. It's just Sans Page, which is what's really throwing me off. But I really like San. I think he's really cool. I love his outfit. It's very simple, but it's by far... Alright, it's tied for my favourite in the game so far. I love that jacket. I love the way his hand is in his pocket. Just a fairly upright stance. He holds the... I assume it's a blade. It might be a baton, I don't know. But he holds the weapon backwards, hand in his pocket. Really cool jacket. Basic suit underneath. 10 out of 10. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. I think it's fantastic. I think San is great. I was sad that I had to kill him. And the funny thing is, doesn't he actually show up in an urban legend reception, not an urban myth one, but he's part of Streetlight Office, which are an urban myth tier office. It doesn't really matter, but you know, people would probably get on me at the comments if I didn't say that and be like, well, actually, Foreman, San isn't even a fucking urban myth. Let's confirm that now before people do get on my case, actually. Because you fuckers get on me for everything. Here is where we fight San, yes. Yes, I remember now. So you can all shut up in the comments. You just shut up, you stupid faces. Let's move on. Ah, crap. Another day without work. Fantastic. There's got to be some case for us to take care of, like fly tipping or something. I'm going to forget how to move at this rate. If I told my friends about this, they're so going to whine, like, well, isn't it a good thing you have a lot of free time, or you're well off, we're about to starve from the lack of requests. Those dummies. Think about it for a moment. You need results to promote to better fixer grades and see some growth in your office, right? And that's going to lead to higher income for us. For now, I'm working with my boss San as some dork shaped like a ball of rice cake. But things could be better than this in the future, yeah? It's not like I have problems with my co-workers. I'm talking about stuff like weapons and office interior. You know, those kind of things. You get what I mean. I do bicker with Mars and snap at him often, yes, but that doesn't mean I hate him. San and Mars are both precious colleagues to me. Though yeah, I know what you're about to say. If fixers develop private feelings for each other, it could be much harder to bear whatever happens down the line. I know what I'm doing is stupid. I have wits, unlike Mr. Rice Cake Face. But we're humans, it's just something that can't be helped. How could we just strictly detach ourselves from one another and focus on work? I tried acting nonchalant, I did, but I guess I can't do it. San said he feels the same. I gotta envy Mars for being cool-headed all the time. So that's what makes Streetlight especially tragic as well, because as I described it and many other people described it as well, these guys in any other game or in any other setting would be like a set of protagonists, or at the very, very least, friends of the protagonist, you know, like it'd be an allied group of some kind, or maybe even a friendly rivalry group or whatever, but it could definitely be a protagonist group. Quite easily. You got the mentor, you got what I suppose is the love interest, and then you got the protagonist. Done and done. Or you can flip Lulu and Mars's roles around accordingly. Lulu could be the protagonist and Mars could be the love interest, whatever. Point is, they are basically just a group of protagonists, and man, groups of protagonists don't fucking last in this game. They don't stand a chance. The She Association were basically a group of protagonists. They actually had an overarching, large, and extremely important goal, and we destroyed them because they were tired from doing so many jobs leading up to their fight with us. Seriously, if we'd fought Yujin fresh, I'm pretty sure she would have annihilated us, so I'm glad we didn't. I would like to get her card fresh, because that would be really cool. But no, it's tragic. And a part of what made Streetlight so likable was the dynamic between the three characters. They were very likable. They had human relationships, they were great. And they're gone. My mother was a fixer with a high grade that every one of my peers would dream of reaching. She was the envy of all, a radiant individual who received endless supplies of various expensive equipment and garnered constant recruit offers from other offices. Does that mean I had a safe, comfortable childhood under the care and wealth of such a wonderful person? Had that been the case, I would have earned a position in one of the wings already. Being the son of a high-rank fixer, I was often targeted by syndicates opposing her, and my mother's acquaintances held high expectations for me. At first, I was okay with their expectations. I was already dreaming to follow the path of my mother, in fact. I was hoping to live up to it and hear compliments such as, I knew you could make it, from others. Yes, I'm going to become a great fixer just like my mother, and then she'll be proud of me one day, right? She'll proudly say, that's my boy, in front of others. I studied hard, day after day, taking no breaks in between. Countless times, I held my sword with a strong resolve, and many days I spent weeping alone. Even if I faced setbacks and failures, I believed I could overcome them and stand strong like the protagonist of a movie. How very fitting. As if I could actually be someone great. But in the end, I grew into an ordinary, aspiring fixer, and I learned that I was only an average person with no talent to show off. When I entered an ordinary office with my ordinary capabilities, my mother seemed very glad to hear the news. She said an associate officer of the Savai is a good start, and I'll certainly be successful if I work my way up slowly. However, I was greatly disappointed in myself, and I couldn't look my mother in the eyes until I said my final goodbyes and left the house. So his mother is going to come back to bite us, for sure. Because nothing has in any way implied that she is deceased, so she's clearly active. She will find out about Mars's death, even if he is estranged, and that's going to become a problem. Mars is cool though. He's a surprisingly good. He's the first objet d'art you get, actually, and it's a good one. Like, all objet d'arts are good, to be fair, but his is a particularly good one. At least early in the game. I don't know if it would really hold up now, but that doesn't really matter. His sword is very cool. His outfit is just not as good as Sans's. There's too much like going on. This is nice and simple, whereas this, you know, he's got his shirt untucked and there's a weird body warmer thing. I don't know, brown shoes, grey trousers. But this is nice and uniform and clean, while also not looking too prim and proper. It's a bit more lazy and relaxed. I really like San. San was one of my favorites. I really liked him. Especially considering how much he attempted to look after his office, and then to watch the poor guy as his office members were picked off one after the other was just tragic. The streetlight, yeah. Until we met Lovetown and Temeri, I'd say the destruction of Streetlight was probably what hurt the most during this playthrough, but now it's definitely Tommy and Mary that hurt the most, for obvious reasons, because that's just fucking tragic. And that Millie song makes it so much worse. Great song, but oh god, it makes it very unhappy. It makes me very unhappy and very uncomfortable, but it's good because, like, music should evoke those kinds of emotions. It should be able to do so. So, the song is really good because I hate it. I don't hate it. I do listen to it in my free time. It's just, it's not a song I listen to casually, you know? I listen to it when my brain is like, I kind of need to go listen to that song again. But we're not doing Lovetown right now. We're doing Streetlight Office. Yeah, poor Streetlight. Mars definitely feels like a character that was not fleshed out enough. Like Sans, we got enough out of Sans. As much as I love him and as much as I wish there was more of him in the game, his arc was full and complete, as it were. His story was everything it needed to be. It was short, it was to the point, completely done. Mars, and I guess this was the point, this is the entire reason why they did it, Mars' story was cut short way too fucking quick. Like, there was a lot of build-up and then just gone. Like that episode of Attack on Titan, a really early one, you know, the one where they're like, we're gonna fight the Titans, and then, oh god, no. That was pretty much what this was. In fact, Streetlight were basically just a filler episode of Attack on Titan. It's pretty tragic. But that's all I've got for today, ladies and gentlemen. I know this is gonna be a really short one, but, yeah, I mean, I am sticking to do it because Urban Legend has a fuck ton. And Urban Plague has a more fuck ton, Jesus Christ. And Urban Nightmare is going to be much the same way. So, I don't want to, okay, I'll tell you what we'll do, alright? I'll tell you what we'll do, because it's relevant. And I fear this video is just a bit too short, because looking at the recording now, I've been recording for about 25 minutes, which doesn't feel right. We'll do the Zwei Association, okay? Because they're directly linked to, Streetlight. And then next time we'll do Stray Dogs, Mauler Office, and Other, and then we may well want to perhaps pick off one of these to make the one after that a little more bearable. But for now, let's do Zwei Association and see what they got. Is there a person or a group dedicated to stopping violence or murder in the backstreets? Not quite. You're on your own unless you have the money to hire fixers. Protection isn't some volunteer service you can get for free. Fixers risk their lives for it. It'll take our lives worth of money to get motivated to work. We aren't robots. If you're so afraid, why don't you hire fixers or move to a nest? You're free from all outside threats when you move in a nest. Unless the nest falls, of course, as we saw. Zwei Association is your shield. We protect you, your family, and your home from syndicates of the backstreets or crazed murderers. If you have the wealth to make a direct request to the association, that is. Without due payment, the association will not move. Do you believe our request fee is too expensive, and would you rather request a syndicate? While making a request to a syndicate is an option, we don't recommend it. The reason is obvious. No organization in the city that operates without abiding formal procedures can be trusted, as we saw in the Hook Office readings. Associate fixers are classified into multiple levels too. Associate fixers are classified into multiple levels too, from Section 1, which is the apex, to Section 6, the bottom, and we dealt with Section 6. There's a world of difference in the salaries and treatment they get. I guess that's because they're much more experienced than us. If I keep trying hard, then maybe I'll be able to join Section 5 someday. It's not an easy feat to get out of Section 6, of course. It takes a huge effort, or perhaps something that can't be accomplished with effort alone. I'm a fresh member here, so there's still a lot for me to learn. Still, I'm going to pick up experience as I resolve the missions assigned to me, and I'll probably figure out what to do in time. The Zwei tends to be more defensive than other associations or offices. Our main purpose is not to fight to win, but rather to ensure the safety of our clients. We don't perpetrate unnecessary killings in our duty of protecting people. Thus, if you're looking to make a request for someone's death, we recommend seeking other associations for it. So the Zwei are really cool, in my opinion. Now, don't get me wrong, they're not, like, morally upstanding. You need money to make this work, or they won't do a fucking thing. If they saw you being murdered in the street, they wouldn't move. But I like the concept. I've always appreciated things that lean towards a more defensive style. or a defensive focus, as it were. Their uniforms are fantastic. I love the blue jacket. Sans is still cooler than anyone in Spy Association's uniform, but this is still very cool. I love the swords. I love that these standard members sort of have one-handed swords, which is funny because it's a spy, you know, spy-handers. But they hold the style with which they hold it, with the arm behind the back, the sword out front, kind of like a rapier, is really cool. I like the spy. I would be surprised if we didn't hear from them ever again, because, you know, we only dealt with Section 6, and there are 5 more sections. There's got to be a player in the story at some point, for sure, but very cool. Very, very cool. I still remember the day when the 3 of us met for the first time. It was when I joined my previous office. I was actually scared back then. It was the first workplace I was assigned to just after I became a fixer. I was hesitating in front of the glass door, wondering whether or not I should go in or wait for someone to open it. But then I heard a sound coming from inside, 2 people arguing with each other. I decided to get close to the door and eavesdrop on them. How tight did the bonds between our fates have to be to lead us here? Sigh. I mean, both of you and I are first-timers. Isn't it reassuring to be with a familiar face? Not at all. When is this Julia person coming anyway? Don't tell me she got disappointed by your pathetic impression and went back already. She's not coming in because she's intimidated by your facial expression. She gave me a glance, turned back to the tall person with an even fiercer gaze than moments ago, then kicked him in the shin and came striding towards me. The tall person followed, rubbing his chin. As the person with pigtails got closer and closer, I found myself stepping backward, even though I knew I should be saying hello to her. Soon, the chime on the door rang as it opened up, and we stood still for a few seconds like that. Not one of us saying a single word. I don't know why, but it was so funny to me that she was puckering her lips just as hesitant to speak as I was, so I burst out laughing. Poor Julia. She was so good-natured. We didn't learn a lot about her, there was not a lot to find out, but she seemed cool. Now she's very gone. San and Julia are old fixer friends of mine, and San's from the streets of District 21, the same place I grew up in. This is a secret I've only told Julia, but San actually used to be a huge coward. It's probably not that surprising to you since he still acts like a coward from time to time. Thinking about the old days makes me laugh though. He'd always train himself so he doesn't lag behind, and he ended up getting scars on his face. And one time he walked into a dark alleyway saying exploration shouldn't be a problem for a brave person even though his face was already full of fear, and then ran back to me in less than a minute. We almost got into serious danger one time. The 2 of us were hanging out until after dark and ran into something nasty in a remote street. It happened when I was a little kid, so my memory of it is blurry. All I can remember is looking at San's back, standing in front of me, holding a tree branch he hurriedly picked up. My heart was racing with fright, but looking at his shivering legs made me chuckle a little on the inside. I don't really remember what happened after that, as I said. Why am I bringing this up all of a sudden? I don't know, I was just reminded of the old times seeing San kneel down for the sake of his office juniors. He never changes, huh? So yeah, these 3, Julia, Isadora, and San, apparently had history. Which makes it appropriate that the last fight with San was with these 2 as well. No, is Isadora there? No, Isadora wasn't there. No, because Isadora joins Walter later on. But yeah, it's just tragedies piled on top of tragedies, really, isn't it? The associations handle requests often made for fixers such as security, combat, assassination, intel, patenting, and trades. When there is money, there are associations. The associations follow the demand, not the other way around. Demand equals requests, and requests equal profit. It may seem too materialistic to you, but seeing how the associations work, you'll have to agree that money is their prime objective. For instance, the associations sort and classify every single notable event in the city. Urban myths, urban legends, urban plagues, urban nightmares, and stars of the city. Risk is not what determines their grade. The only question that matters is how much people are willing to pay to have the threat eliminated. So I think the Spy Association was definitely one of the main examples where it was one of the main things where when I saw it, I was convinced I wanted the idea of running your own fixer operation to be a game. Right? Because you start off maybe alone, and you can either stay alone, which would be playing the game on hard, or perhaps join up with some rats, or try and link up some other low-grade fixers, eventually forming a fixer officer or a syndicate office or something like that. Not, you know, syndicates don't have officers, but you know what I mean. And, like, eventually you can get to the point where you establish an association and then you're managing multiple fixer offices while still, you know, you got there through being a top-of-the-line fixer, so you're still leading a lot of these from the front if you choose to, but can also delegate as you want. And, I don't know, I don't want to always talk about this all the time, but the idea really excites me. It's not something that I think is coming anytime soon. I've heard nothing about confirming it in any way, shape, or form, but It's something I'd really want, and not in the style of a fucking gacha game, but like an actual management, I guess management sim aspects, but I would like there to be, you know, some combat. I'd honestly just like to have the combat from Ruina in it, to be honest. I think that would work quite well. But you could also use something like Darkest Dungeon, even Battle Brothers would work. Or even go XCOM. XCOM would probably be quite an easy one to do because you have a combination of ranged and melee combat in the game, and different characters rely on different things. You know, you can make it work. The XCOM system has been used to showcase melee combat, like some games you doing it a lot more. So it is totally possible. I don't know. But yes, Spy Association, Section 6. They didn't last very long. And they weren't very strong. I think I beat them first try. But then again, I beat most of these first try until I got to like... I want to say around Urban... Whoops. I want to say around Urban Nightmare was when things started getting problematic for me. The Stray Dogs were tough, but not too bad. Molar Office were fairly simple. Yeah, nah, it was definitely Urban Nightmare where things started to get tricky. The Musicians of Bremen were our first actual roadblock. Who are you guys? Right, yeah. And that was also an issue. But, yeah. That's all I've got time for today, ladies and gentlemen. I went a little extra than just Urban Myth because I figured Urban Myth was too fucking short. Next time we'll be moving on to Urban Legend and then probably going to pick away at Urban Plague just a little bit. And then I bet Urban Nightmare is going to be a fucking hassle, but such is the way of things. I'll look into Lulu's Friend's second page because I don't really want to miss out on anything. But it's weird, I haven't seen a page 2 show up anywhere, which leads me to believe I must be missing a reception, but I can't think of what it would be. If you could find it without too much hassle on your part, because I don't want to make you guys go trawling through encounters to try and find this, but if you happen to know where page 2 is, then let me know. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching. Special thanks to Ye Old Man River, Lord Scullington, Jessicitty, Aris, Plutonium Pie, Dreamer Ghost, Leper Lullaby, K-Bub, Magic Owl, Peyton Barrett Hill, The Frostbite, Quantum Pizza, Monsoon, Sir World, Jumping with Joy, Warmaster Oku, SCP-106A, Namad, and Kenny T800 for supporting me on Patreon. Thank you so much, guys. I greatly appreciate it, and thank you all so much for watching. This one felt a little light. I don't know, to be fair, Urban Myth isn't exactly the highlight of the game, because Canard is at least interesting because it's your first introduction to the game. You've literally just got here. And in Urban Myth, Streetlight Office itself is probably the highlight, but there's nothing especially deep or interesting about it. It's just a group of protagonists who get fucking bodied immediately. And then the follow-up with the Spy Association, once again, not particularly heavy or interesting. It's just a group of people who seem like they'd be the ones who save the day, getting absolutely bodied. It's possible the Stray Dogs and Molar Office are a bit more interesting, and yeah, there's plenty going on in other... Oh, wow, there's a lot here, okay. But definitely Urban Plague and Urban Nightmare is where things start getting really interesting. So, I'm looking forward to that, but I digress, I'm rambling, thank you so much for watching. Where happens next time, and I'll try and do these more regularly, I swear, and when I do, I hope I see you there. Doodles, goodbye.